right, good morning, everybody. This is Chris coming to you with another video. It is a balmy early morning on daylight savings time here in Virginia. So I might be competing with some birds, but hopefully everybody will be able to hear me fine. So this one is going to require some explanation. This is going to be the first one I review that actually is in my fleet, has been in my fleet for some time. The other ones I've just kind of purchased because I thought they were cool and send them on to their new owners. What we are looking at today is a 2003 Volkswagen Golf 1.9 TDI. This is the ALH MK4 Golf. Obviously, it's a two-door. I'll show my personalized license plate, and that will give you a guess as to why we're looking at this. And I will give a reminder about my page, channel, whatever you want to call it. We are looking at this today because it is a 5-speed manual. So just as a reminder, shout out to Manual Elitist Jerks on Facebook. And on this page, I will be covering manual transmission vehicles and wagons. So at some point, I will talk about my now 4th Crown Estate that I imported from Japan. But back to regularly scheduled programming. This 2003 Volkswagen Golf TDI I have had for almost 3 years. I had a longer commute to work at the time. Always kind of wanted one of these because I heard about the phenomenal fuel mileage. I'm here to tell you that the fuel mileage is accurate. These things can easily get 45, 50 miles to the gallon. They are not quick. I believe this ALH 1.9 only has like 90 horsepower. This is not the high horsepower version that I know some of them are out there. This one is bone stock, and somebody in the background is racing. So this has a story to tell as well, because after my position at work changed and I ended up at a different location, I did not have as long a commute to work. So I was driving this less and less and less. When I finally made a decision, I'm like, well, it's just sitting here. I don't want a diesel to just sit around, so let me go ahead and sell it. I needed to go to Maryland to look at a ramp truck, and I decided to take this since it's my smallest, most fuel-efficient vehicle. Well, on the way to Maryland, which with no traffic is about a 3.5 hour drive from here, I was in the express lanes going through Alexandria, Virginia, and heard some kind of weird noise. Car started running crazy, and I pulled over to the side. The gentleman with the ramp truck, I let him know that something was wrong with my car, went up there. He asked me for my location. I gave it to him. He actually came down to Virginia from Maryland with the ramp truck into the express lanes and picked me up. You could not advertise your product any better. So ended up purchasing that, left the car on the back, and brought it back home. Took it to my mechanic, Liam. He pulled the head off, noticed that it dropped the valve, but it was a bit larger job than he needed to do, taking up the very small space he has. He's just a home mechanic. So I ended up taking it to Ryan at Weisworks, who came highly recommended. And as it turns out, I knew Ryan from BAP Geon anyway. I made the cardinal sin of saying, take your time. So I'm not going to blame all of that on Ryan. But the repairs definitely took longer than I had expected due to where I was in line and the availability of a couple of parts that were needed. So that's the whole long story behind that. Hopefully I'll have some opportunity to put some pictures in since I had to do a lot of talking about that problem. But now we're at a point where I'm going to go ahead and sell it. I think I have a buyer already, but still wanted to do the video anyway. All right, so when I first got it, it had these ugly black wheels on it. Hopefully I'll have a picture to put in here. I didn't like them. I ended up finding these and putting these wheels on, these little 17-inch, whatever they are. I did the little Volkswagen logo. I had to cut around it, so it's not perfect, but just looked a little bit better than me. I know most people go, oh, it needs to be lowered. Listen, I'm an old guy. I'm done with lowering stuff, so the next owner can lower it if they choose to. I know it looks like this is a void, like nothing is there, but that actually is an aftermarket light. I will show it to you in a minute, so you'll see how it lights up, because the other ones lost the lenses. As I've been walking around, you've probably noticed that the headlights are a little bit cloudy. They need to be done. This car came out of Colorado. Did not see any extensive corrosion on it. It did not have the little roof spoiler on it. I got that, had that painted. It also had clear tail lights on it. Can't stand clear tail lights unless they are on my 1999 Nissan Cedric, which I may break the rules and do a video on that one just because it's something special from Japan. And it had aftermarket stereo amplifier and subwoofer in it. Now, you would absolutely never in my life catch me with a JBL, whatever this is, subwoofer and a Jensen, whatever this is, amplifier. These were in here when I purchased it. I had taken these out and put in my proper JL sub and amplifier. But of course, the new owner is not getting my 8W7 or my 250/1. These are some spare parts that came from Ryan over at Weisworks, spare turbo, some other ALH parts down there. I think some of the other things, or maybe some of the damaged parts. Thankfully, it did not get down to the bottom end. Oh, while I'm back here, let me just go ahead and say this. These little tabs, because this is supposed to come up when you lift the hatch, these little tabs are gone. So I just have this little bungee cord back here, and that has always worked fine. Anyway, the parts, I just mentioned the parts that were back there. I am thankful that it didn't get down to the bottom end. It was just head, valves, reman head, had to do valves. I think a couple of them needed to be done. And we're back in business. So as you can see here, I'm pointing up to the headliner. Headliner is sagging. I think, I don't remember. Oh, it did not have a headrest. So I found a black one somewhere, and I just put that black one in the middle. So that's it for the hatch area. There's a 12-volt plug back there. All right. Very common issue on these cars are these fabric door tags, or fabric door, whatever you want to call them. You see, I put some staples in this one, but you know, it's loose, needs to be replaced. I don't think it's a big deal. It just never got to me so much that I did it. That one is a little less loose, probably because it's not used as much. You can see that this definitely needs to be detailed. As always, I am not spit shining these cars before I show them to you, showing them to you just as they are. Seats could use a good shampoo. They are in need of some love, but everything works. This is the base model. So there are no heated seats, which would be those buttons up here. Again, aftermarket radio, as I mentioned, heat and AC work great. Regular 5-speed manual. And let's go ahead and talk about the things I like. So we do have an owner's manual, so that is fantastic. We do have 2 keys. You're going to have to believe me on this one. We have one remote key, which is right here, and I have another key in the house, which is not a remote key, but this is time for confession. I actually had 2 remote keys at one time and somehow lost one. So I had 3 keys, but now I'm down to 2. All right, let's look at tires. All right, so we have a Lionheart up front. We have a Lionheart in the back. We have a Mastercraft. Oh yeah, I remember now. Could not find a matching Lionheart at the time, where I got like a nail in the sidewall. So Lionheart, 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 Mastercraft. So sorry, we did not make the matching tires, but we got the keys and we got the owner's manual. Okay, so this has a very low 208,000 miles. There is one other thing I want to show you before we do our drive. A couple other things. I want to show the engine, of course, and I want to show you something in the fuel tank that's interesting. Let's go ahead and get this lifted up. All right, here's the 1.9 TDI. What kills me is that this car had been very well maintained prior to my purchase. Time and belt had been done at 186, I believe that is. And now it's been done again because of all of the work that I had to get done. Time and belt, water pump. I think injection pump was also done, if I'm not mistaken. So covers on it, it's not a whole lot you can see, but it is bone stock. It is not tuned, deleted, any of that stuff. If the new owner wants to do that, they can knock themselves out. That is that's not my thing. So, well, it's my thing on one of my other cars that I'll talk about. All right, so in here, what I wanted to show you is there's this little tab in here, and you should be able to see it right there. And when you're fueling up and when the fuel cuts off at the pump, you can actually press that little tab, and it'll sound like it's releasing some air, and then you can put more fuel in there. So after it clicks at the tank, you probably can get like another 2.5 gallons in it by, I think people call it burping it. I think some people take that thing out, and that's called a vasectomy some kind of way. But cool little thing that I found out reading on one of the forums. So this is going to be a nice cold start. Let's go ahead and start it up since I still have the hood up. And then we'll go for a little drive. All right, nice warm morning, so that glow plug light is not going to stay on long. All right, typical ALH startup. I already started it once just to move it into this position. Definitely get like a little puff of smoke first thing in the morning. Not present right now. It does smell deliciously like crayons, as all of these generation TDIs do. It sounds like a TDI. I'm going to talk a little bit louder since I got the hood up. Everything is very normal, very stock on this car. So I've done a lot of talking on the first part of this video. Let's go ahead and get to the driving part, and we'll wrap things up. I will be right back. All right, I'm back, all buckled in. Car was running from the earlier start, so we're just going to go ahead and hop right into this. First and foremost, let's go ahead and do my big guy score. Again, 6'5", slightly north of 280. And this is a small car, but I am very comfortable in this small car. I've been on several multi-hour trips. I've not felt any fatigue. The seats are comfortable. This is more comfortable than some significantly more expensive vehicles that I've had. Years ago, I had a Volkswagen Jetta 5-speed. It was a, I think the 1.8 turbo. Whoa, it was the 1.8 turbo, and that one had more comfortable seats than the Audi A8 that I also had at the time, which I found to be pretty interesting. We're not going to go the long way around the neighborhood today because I have somewhere to go, so we're just going to head straight out to the main road. But I give this a big guy score of, I'm going to go ahead and say an 8. You know, there's nothing that's ever going to be perfect, but very comfortable car, seat adjust just like I need it, way down and way back. One of the things I like about Volkswagens, earlier Volkswagens, my brother had a Jetta back when I was in high school, and I was much larger then. And I remember the clutch was really, really close to the brake, and I have big feet to carry around my big body. So I did not care for that very much. Just the proximity of the clutch to the brake. This car is different. It's over where it needs to be, and I have no problems. It is also one of the easiest cars to learn how to drive a manual transmission on. It is very, very, very difficult to stall in these Volkswagens, in my opinion. The clutch feels amazing. I believe it has been replaced at some point in its life. According to the Carfax, I have to go back and find that and look it up. Uh, these vehicles do not have high horsepower, so you're not going to go anywhere extremely fast. I've never been one to over rev it. I'm not in a rush. I'm trying to get decent fuel mileage when I'm in this, so I generally shift below 3,000 RPMs, most of the time around 2,500 or so. If you need to get up and get out, then it'll do the job. But just understand that this is not a GTI. I also had oh, sometimes I forget what gear I'm shifting into. So I also had a VR6 GTI 6-speed manual. This was before I started doing the videos. One of the funnest hatches I've ever had. That car really surprised me. I'd love to get another one day, especially just to do a review on it. But I had both of these at the same time. When I would get out of that and get back into this one, it was extremely disappointing. But I also was not getting, 45 miles to the gallon in that one. This car has absolutely no lights on the dashboard. Again, I mentioned earlier that the AC works, heat works, everything in it works. There are zero issues, and I had zero issues with the exception of the brake light, the brake lining light or whatever coming on, and took it to Liam, and he replaced. I ended up just doing all 4 brakes and rotors, and then shortly after that is when I was like, oh, well, I'm not really driving it. I needed to do that to get it inspected. Let me just go ahead and sell it. And then the fateful ride to go look at the ramp truck happened. So drives very good. AC works. I'm sorry, not the AC. Cruise control. I already mentioned the AC. Cruise control works fine. I've been on, again, many trips. I think my maximum, I went to North Carolina one day, ironically, to pick up a different ramp truck. Hopefully I still have a picture of it. And I think out of that tank, I got a little over 700 miles. It was pretty cool to get that type of mileage in one fuel tank. So yeah, these things are great. I mean, they really are. And hopefully this video will help someone who is not as familiar with the TDI Volkswagens to purchase it if it's something that they're interested in. Some people are really funny about MK4 values, especially the ALHs. I believe that the ALHs are marginally better than the BEWs. That's a debate that somebody else can have. I don't really care. I specifically looked for the ALH because that's what I wanted. So I guess that's about it. Radio works well. I have a thumb drive in here. I'm scared to see what's going to be on here. Oh, Prince. Okay, well, this also has Bluetooth, so I usually have my phone connected, but I'm using my phone to record. But you can't ever go wrong with Prince. There's nothing wrong with Prince. That's a old thumb drive I had, probably from the time of his death. But anyway, that's about it. If there are any questions, feel free to ask. I hope you've enjoyed this video, a little bit longer than the other ones. And we will catch you on the next one. Y'all take it easy.